Why has he fallen off so much?
Well, there are red flags in that you have to try to figure out if you can coach him, if he's coachable, and what kind of teammate he's going to be when it's all said and done. And does he need football and love football? There are some teams that believe in him, and there are some teams that are very hesitant about him. I think Rosen still winds up going in the top 10. And yes, I have him at 15, but like we've seen in the last 2 years, five times teams have moved up to go get quarterbacks. We can't move picks around in these mock drafts because evidently there are rules in the mock draft world that Kuiper established dozens of years ago.
Kuiper, you're the best.
But I really think Arizona, that would be a situation where they would move in somewhere like 7 to 10 in that range to go get Rosen.
But it's not his skills, it's all the off the field, the attitude, that type of stuff.
Vast majority. I mean, he's got some mobility issues, and there are a couple things in his game. But I think if he doesn't go in the top 10 picks, it will be because teams are hesitant because of who he is. Yes.
Stephen A.?
Well, for me, you know, I know, you've got your mock draft, and obviously you got Sam Darnold #1, and Mel Kiper, he had Josh Allen #1, at least, more than a week ago or so. I want to know what's the drop-off. Could you talk to me about why you've got a Darnold at #1 and a Josh Allen at #6, but in somebody else's mock draft, like a Mel or somebody else, Josh Allen would be #1? What's the flip-flop? What's going on with the two of these guys at the quarterback spot, anywhere from 1 to 6, that kind of gap? What's going on there?
Yeah, Stephen A., I think it really will come down to Allen and Sam Darnold. And with Allen, you're betting on the upside. You're betting on what he could be if he continues to develop his feet and become more consistent with his accuracy. I don't know how much of the combine you watch, but it doesn't take a super scout to figure out this guy has arm talent that is rare. And so if you take him, you're taking a guy that's had a couple shoulder injuries. He's coming from smaller level of competition, lower level, and most importantly, the accuracy has been inconsistent. Darnold, yeah, there's some turnover issues on his tape, but he is a magician in the pocket, and his makeup is outstanding, and he's been durable throughout his career and has a big, fit, strong frame. So to me, he's the safest. Well, he's also the best quarterback of the group, in my opinion, but he's also the safest. And that's why I think if you're the Browns and you're sitting there and you can't miss on this pick, you cannot 3 years down the road say, you know what, we're moving on, we got to get another quarterback. To me, Darnold is the safest. Now, if you want to go with the best player in the draft, that's Saquon Barkley. And if A.J. McCarron is brought in by Cleveland, then maybe it becomes Barkley, and then you take a quarterback at #4, a little bit like the Bears did with Mike Glennon and Mitch Trubisky last year. But if you're sitting there at 1 and you don't have a quarterback through free agency, I think Sam Darnold is the right play.
Although who says you have to take a quarterback with any of your top picks, as long as you get him in the first 3 rounds or so, as Jess Schwartz pointed out, former offensive lineman on Twitter yesterday. Top 3 round, they seem to do well, but not necessarily the very highest.
The last 3 times that they've gotten cute and said, well, let's take another position player, it's turned out to be Whedon and Brady Quinn and Johnny Manziel. So I think if you're Cleveland, you can't afford to get cute with this one.
Question about Josh Allen then, because it seems to me that guys like this always crop up. We hear about everyone else, and then from a sleep year program, it turns out there's this physical specimen, whether it's Ben Roethlisberger or Carson Wentz, who obviously worked out big time, or Trubisky, who the jury's still out on. All of a sudden, that guy becomes the hot thing, or Bortles, right? The hot thing, and gets drafted ahead of everyone else. You mentioned Josh Allen's accuracy being an issue. You can fix that. How do you think his decision-making and mental makeup are? Are those blue chip?
I don't know. Can you fix it? That's what I'm concerned about. I don't know of many examples of guys who were inaccurate in college that went on to be accurate in the NFL. Matthew Stafford's probably the closest thing. But from his mental makeup, he's good. He's not as good and as advanced as Carson Wentz was coming out of South Dakota State, with the same coaching staff, by the way. But Allen, to me, is a competitor. He really has some gunslinging elements to his game. He loves the game. He's tough. He's physical. I don't have any questions about him. He might not be, like I said, quite as advanced as Wentz, but he'll get there.
You were obviously at the combine. Oh, go ahead, Stephen A.
Todd, what I heard is this. Religiously, you hear NFL aficionados talk about not needing to take a running back that high. You can find those. Can't find the Ezekiel Elliott's every day, but you can find a damn good running back a little bit later in the first, second, third, whatever the case may be. Saquon Barkley, we're actually having conversations potentially of him being the #1 overall pick. First of all, do you think he's worthy? And secondly, is it because of Ezekiel Elliott that you feel that that's an easy decision for something to make? Or is the mindset of NFL teams that this dude Barkley is that special? What is it?
This dude Barkley is that special. That's what it is. It really is. There's exception to rule type players. Adrian Peterson was one when he was coming out. Todd Gurley was one. Ezekiel Elliott was one. Leonard Fournette. And all of those guys have panned out and become huge difference makers in varying degrees at their career point right now. But they've all been worth the pick if you look back on it. So I think Barkley's the same thing. Not only is he an exceptional runner, as we've seen, catches the football, he's going to protect your quarterback, and if it's Eli at #2, that's a really important thing. And then the way he carries himself, the work ethic and what he brings to the organization, I just think there's very few running backs that you can look at and say, man, he's a leader of this football team. Yeah. And eventually that's what Barkley will become for whatever team winds up drafting him.
Yeah, can't wait till he's a New York Football Giant. Real quick, the other story, obviously, Shaq Griffin and how impressive he was at the Combine. Where do you see him landing now, and how much has he rose?
I love this dude. I mean, he is so special. I've gotten to know him and talk to him, and it just he brings so much energy to a football team. I think third round might be a little rich, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. First 3 rounds, to me, you're trying to find full-time starters. I'm not sure that Griffin's going to be that, but I do know that with his speed, with his instincts, and with the passion and the energy that he brings, he's going to be a great special teams player covering kicks. And then he's probably going to be a sub-package player, meaning he'll come in on obvious passing downs. He can rush the quarterback, and he can cover underneath. I love his versatility. And like I said, you're bringing in such a high-character guy that brings so much energy. And this isn't just a 40 time. Yeah. This is a guy that was the AAC. Well, he was the AAC Defensive Player of the Year. He was one of the best players in college football on the defensive side the last 2 years. And he stood out at the Senior Bowl as one of maybe the 15, 20 best players there of a bunch of all-stars. So the fact that he wasn't invited to the Combine at one point was an absolute joke. And then he goes to the Combine and he runs the fastest time in the history of the Combine at the linebacker position and kind of sticks it to him.
So incredible, so much heart, and he's got a lot of new fans now. Appreciate you dropping knowledge, as always. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good.
Many consider, as we just heard, Saquon Barkley the best